Hi, it's Ronnie, and welcome to Stretch the Sketch, hosted by Janet, who is Galaxy Girl Creations here on YouTube. And this is a sketch we will be using today. It's a 12 by 12, and we can do anything besides a 12 by 12. It can be a double page layout with two 12 by 12s, but any other size. And this is a photo I'm going to be scrapbooking. I cannot talk today. Uh, my youngest grandson, Malachi, I'm going to use that punch and those dies. I'm going to use two different sticker sheets, and I'm going to be creating a 9 by 12. This is from the collection That's My Boy. And I went through and cut off all the branding strips, and on it's either Echo Park or Cartabella. I can't remember which one this is. It's Echo Park. They're 6 inches long and a little bit skinnier than the actual branding strips. So I cut them all out, and I wanted like every other one to look more solid and have the more pattern paper in between. So I knew I wasn't going to have enough of the solids paper. So I took a scrap from behind the photo. No, I started to do it from behind the photo and seen a piece of red and decided to use it instead. I may not end up with the exact same wave that's on the sketch, but since it's 9 by 12 and only, 9 inches across, I made my waves just a little shorter so they would go up and down just a little bit more, and it would look more like a wave than maybe a slope. At least that was a thought in my mind when I was doing it. And since my photo is bigger, it's not 4 by 6, I did trim it down some. I did take a pencil and mark a rectangle where the photo's going to go, so that I could add just half pieces. Well, I don't even think it's half, to the top of where the photo's going, and not use all the paper because, since they are little banners, I can use them on a lot of different layouts just by adding them here and there. And so here's the first one I am cutting down, and it is from the scrap. Now, there was a much bigger scrap from the yellow there, so those are 6 inches, the same as the actual pieces off of the branding strip. Although I cut out the pieces for the, up to the top left that looked like parts of an airplane, I thought they didn't necessarily look like enough of an airplane to be able to tell that's what it was. So I ended up not putting them on there. I thought I could just use them on something else at some time or other and just layer something bigger on top where it wouldn't matter what it is. It'd just be a pattern. And I wanted to use that blue arrow. However, I wanted to use the camera too, and they were both so much the same color that I traced it and cut out that yellow piece there. And so my arrow would be yellow, and I started just use it as is. But as I laid it down, because I hadn't tried it, I just cut it out, I thought it needed a little bit more, and I considered for a second or two adding some stitches, and then decided just to add a border around it instead. My title I pulled from the one sticker sheet, and I wanted to use the little tile alphas, but I didn't have the right letters. And so I decided to go ahead and use the dies instead. And I will be wrestling with this title. It was a little bit too long because you may not be able to tell it, but there is white around those letters too. And so I'm trying to space them out. I should have just layered them and went for the color part, but I didn't. So I just keep moving them over and over, and it's going to end up with the B on top of the arrow to get them to fit and it look good. And I will have a little extra room when I get done that way. And I am happier with it. My title is going to be, which I'm going to forget the top 2 words uh, for a minute, but I will remember them and they will go on there, is Becoming a Bookworm. And as you can see, Malachi's a little bit too young to read, but he does have a book and he's looking at it. When my kids were little, I'd let them pick a book each, and I'd have one on each side of me, and I would read the alphabet book every time. That's my choice. And so every night it got read, and then whatever books they wanted to read. And my sister and my mom and I went to Safeway, and I pulled up in the parking place, and the big sign was there in front of us on the side of the wall. And my daughter was 3, and she says, Safeway, Safeway. And we all 3 looked at her in shock, and I didn't realize she was paying that much attention to the book getting read to her. But when I was a teenager, my aunt had read to her kids, and they memorized the books. And I thought, well, if they can memorize a whole book, word for word, and not be able to read, I could do the alphabet book. I really thought it'd take longer than it did, but it didn't. And I mean, she was reading in no time. And so my kids was really good about reading to their kids. And the older kids reading to the younger kids. And so they start young. And all but one of them was a reader. And he'd say, I'm never going to be a reader. Well, on a trip once, his older brother took 2 books with him, and one was Harry Potter, and he was almost done with it, and he finished it. And the other one, Jake, was bored. And Casey told him, well, maybe you can read this book. I'm done with it. He was hooked after that. He was reading everything he could find, and especially on trips. But yeah, we're big readers in our family. So it's Becoming a Bookworm, and the story is going to go on the back about how we're big readers, and starting young encourages them to read when they get older. In fact, they're so excited to learn to read. Oh, it just thrills your heart. But that's it. That's my layout. A very quick layout and video. Other than cutting out fussy cutting, because they're smaller than the branding strip. The strips there and fishtailing them. Yeah, it was a pretty quick layout. But I want to thank you all so very, very much for joining me. I really appreciate that. And make sure you check out the playlist down there below and see what everybody else has created this week with that sketch. Because stretching it or making it smaller, putting it in a journal or a travel notebook is lots of fun when you're using a sketch and trying to go along with it. Have fun with the Stretch the Sketch playlist. Bye.